so excited to sit with you and talk to you in person because one of our members sent me your video.
Ooh.
And she was like, you have to have Amber on. And from the moment it wasn't even what you were saying. It was the energy in which you were saying it. And you are so true and honest and in your body. And your story is, it's like riveting. You just I was sitting on the edge of my seat, just wanting to know more. And I also felt like I was just like so intimately almost reading your journal because it's so, holy shit. It is so raw. And I like the courage that it must have taken to get here with writing Lovable is I had to have you on. And also I was like, why haven't you been in my life sooner? I need this girl. She's amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it means a lot to hear.
It's true. So, honestly, Amber, where the hell to begin with you? Because it's just jaw-dropping. And I think just getting to the place because, talking with your literary agent before this too, and knowing that you've written these other books, can you share the titles of the other books? And then
Yeah, so my first book was Choose Wonder Over Worry, which I always think we make the thing that we need the most. And so really that then was an invitation to not be in, self-doubt and anxiety and worry about what's the unknown, but really to choose wonder and to leap into possibility. And then my second book was The Answers Are Within You, which again, I think was an invitation of, hello, you're not listening.
Oh,
You're telling the world to listen. You're on stages talking about tapping into your intuition and hearing your truth and following your knowing. Are you listening? Because the answer is also within you. And then I created the feelings journal because I think all these feelings were coming to the surface.
Yeah.
Grief, sadness, anger. And I'm like, what do I do with them? Oh my God. So let me create a tool to help me work through my emotions. And then this last book, Lovable. And, spelled love, ABLE. So love able also.
Ooh.
Not only realizing I'm lovable, but in the recognition that I'm lovable, being able to love another fully.
So I would love to know, before we just dive in to your memoir and really what has you here. I feel like living a life of true alignment. It feels from everything that you share. What helped you tap deep into yourself to get to the place of actually listening when you don't think you were before?
Yeah, it's funny. I had all of the tools. I was doing the journaling. I was in therapy. I, had a great community of friends. So I thought I was listening to and trusting myself. But I honestly think it was the meeting of someone else while married and having this kind of moment of, holy shit, that this is actually who or what connection is supposed to feel like. And my knowing was and I'm pretty sure he's the father of your children and who you're meant to spend your life with. But it was just his presence, not the possibility that I might leave, but his presence was this mirror that had me realize that I was lying to myself. And so it was kind of, he walked in and it was the house of cards went burning down. And the whole performance that I was in, it was suddenly I had to look honestly. And, I would like to say that it was something within me. I wish I could tell you, it was, that journaling practice that I had. And I just finally told myself the truth on the page. But no, it was someone else walking into my life and me realizing, wait, love feels like this. Love doesn't feel like what I've been in. Connection doesn't feel like what I've been in. And it was instantly I woke up from a spell and realized all the lies I've been telling myself. And I didn't know if this other person was just a catalyst or the love of my life, but he was this mirror of truth.
And you felt it instantly.
Instantly.
And I mean, clearly he felt it too. He felt it instantly as well.
I didn't know. And I thought in the moment, even when I had this feeling, I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's your person, which was instant. The other voice in my head was like, you're insane. You're married. And he also probably doesn't feel the same way.
And you were with your husband.
I was with my husband
your
when I met him.
Husband. Yeah.
I was with my former husband when I met.
There you go.
When I met him. Yeah.
And I find it like so wild, but also kind of just amazing that you, in that moment, turned to your former husband and said,
I just met a soulmate. I mean, this was like 5 hours later because so we meet, and I actually met him alone because a bit of context, it was, 4 years ago. My ex and I moved to Todos Santos, a place in Mexico. We were building this land project. And, I can look back now and see that I was trying desperately to make it work. And this was another attempt. If I make him my business partner and collaborator, maybe I'll finally get the closeness that I'm after. We were in a sexless marriage. We were great friends. He was a good guy. We had shared community. We had fun in the world, which was confusing.
Yeah.
And it was like, he's this great person. So shouldn't that be enough? Like, won't we just figure out the intimacy thing eventually? And yeah, I guess I don't really I can't really reach him. I don't feel like that closeness, but maybe what we have is enough. I was like very much in that questioning.
Mm-hmm.
We go to Mexico, and I realize now trying to go into business with him was another attempt at connection and closeness. And it was in the midst of that we were raising money, and 2 potential investors came over, and they had a friend tag along. And that friend who tagged along was the person who I looked into the eyes of and was like, hello again. It's you, kind of feeling. And then they were supposed to be there for an hour. 5 hours later, him and I, went, and we were just like, this like huge kind of amazing connection while my former husband was in business conversation with the others. And it was when they left that I turned to him and said, I just met a soulmate. Mm-hmm. And he said, I saw, and that was beautiful to witness.
Oof.
So it was like, and nothing else was said at that moment.
Yeah. I mean, that's very true.
Yeah.
And like hard for someone who you're married to say.
Yeah.
And see, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, he felt it. I mean, everyone there was undeniable because it wasn't, I just met a soulmate and now I'm going to blow up our marriage and leave and this is over. It was just like, I just met someone with whom being around, like it was just this visible, really special connection. I didn't know what it meant yet.
Yes. So how do you go from feeling that just like ignited feeling of holy shit?
Yeah.
To then like going back to your life with your former husband?
Well, it was really hard because suddenly I saw a contrast that I didn't see before. And so I think that is the contrast is what really ignited this deep inquiry and this deep level of honesty where I hadn't been honest before. Mm-hmm. And that is actually when I turned to my practices. That is when I turned to the journal and turned to the page and, finally admitted to myself, I actually don't think I'm very fulfilled in this marriage. I actually don't feel very connected. I don't want to have sex with my husband. Why don't I want to have sex with my husband? I started asking myself the questions I was afraid to look at. Because I was afraid of what I would find out and then afraid of what I'd have to do about once I knew and saw the truth. And so, it really started this process of real self-honesty and kind of like truth and transparency kind of became like, okay, first I have to be honest with myself. Mm-hmm. Then I have to be honest with the people involved, which was scary.
It's so scary. Yeah. And when you feel this connection with someone, but you're married, like, are you in contact with the person? Because I mean, you say that you didn't even have any intimate connection with him until you flew back to LA and he picked you up at the airport.
Until I closed my marriage, yeah. So me and this, to fill in the blanks a little bit, I thought, okay, I need to be a good wife. I need to stay in my marriage. Like, I'm not going to do the crazy thing and blow this all up. That would be insane. And so because I can't have John as my romantic partner, I'm going to make him my creative partner in this project. So because he was an artist and a designer and a creative, and actually he had also great chemistry with my husband. It was the strange thing where like the 3 of us actually got along very well together.
Wow.
And my husband my former husband was, he was a smart business guy in the sense of like he saw the value he could bring. He saw what he could bring to the project. And so I was like, why doesn't he help me design and build out this project? And everyone was on board.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, let's collaborate. And then I think we very quickly in that collaboration process realized this wasn't just this like there was really something special there.
Right.
And even to John, who is the person I met, to him meeting me, he didn't think I was available. He thought I was from his point of view at first, I was in a happy marriage. So he wasn't like trying to do, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, these seems like a lovely couple. Like, wow, I have a really special connection with her. I don't know exactly what that means yet, but let's all, see what's possible here. Well, so, but then, honest conversations are had, we realize what I'm experiencing with John is real. And before I told John how I was feeling, I told my husband, like, I think I'm falling in love with him. Like, this is what
Wow.
this is. And also, let's be honest about what our relationship really is. And even my ex was like, well, maybe we open our marriage and like you can bring the energy that you had with him to our relationship. And I was like, if we opened our marriage and I was like appropriately labeling you two as men in my life, you would be my best friend.
Right.
You would not be my husband or romantic partner, and he would be my husband and romantic partner. So it was just this like very, the three of us were in it together, having the hard but honest conversations.
Oh, God.
And like, and I like give, my ex so much credit.
Yeah.
Because he's like really willing to kind of surrender and trust. And like at one point even said like, we can't tell anyone what's going on because they wouldn't understand. Because it was this like really like, I feel like we all were kind of open-hearted and curious in the process.
That's like what I get from you. Like you're so open to let us all in this way. And I just like, I can't even imagine the amount of messages you must receive from
It's been
women on the
insane.
daily.
I did not. I thought in writing this book, people would connect with a sliding doors moment or like, do I do this or do I do this? I was deeply surprised by how many women I thought they were going to, relate to the story because they had a moment in their lives where they didn't know if they should go this way or that way. There was a sliding doors moment. I didn't expect how many women are in an unfulfilling, sexless marriage and have met someone else. That exact moment, or just in the unfulfilling sexless marriage, or, it's just some variation. But the amount of people who are like, I read your book and it's my story and I felt like I wrote it and they're the exact words in my journal has been, surprising.
Wow. I think, obviously, even like the member who sent it to me, it's like, she's like, please bring her on. Like everything she's saying, you're saying things people are so afraid to really witness in their life because like you said, it's so comfortable to stay where there's ease.
Yeah.
And to be able to, I always wonder, like, if you didn't meet him, you would have just carried on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder. I would like to think that something would have happened. Maybe I would have, had the courage within myself at some point. But yeah, it's interesting that it did. And like, that's a part of my story that I'm like, I wish that wasn't the part of the story. But that's also just the way the story went.
Right. But I respect you deeply for the way that you've handled the situation because not everyone does that. And there's betrayal and infidelity, and it's just, it hurts the other person so deeply. And not that this didn't hurt, but being so open and honest to have these hard conversations with your partner it's like, we got to do these things. Like we have to sit down. We got to have these really hard moments to be able to really see like what it is revealing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, sorry. I'm just like, your story is so, it grabs you.
Yeah.
It really does. And how did you get from that place of having the open, honest conversation to then like progressing with your current husband? Because I love the story of like him picking you up and you guys
Yeah.
having your first moment?
Well, I really do believe the truth can set us free. And that's what it did for me. And it was very quick. So once the truths were spoken with my ex, we all very quickly realized like that relationship was complete. And there was a lot of like honoring because we were together for 9 years and that
Mhm.
container was so growth inducing for both of us. And so I left that being like, I don't wish, even though, it was sexless for, I don't actually maybe wish it ended sooner. Like that was beautiful for what it was. And so I felt like I like left that being like, thank you. Deeply relieved also because it was like, wow, I was grieving for a long time in that. But I was like very ready to step into what came next. And I think it was because, and I hear this from a lot of women who grieve the relationship all in it.
Mhm.
And it's like, it ended and they're not devastated because they already felt the longing, the sadness, the anger, the fear. And so, I still, when my ex and I had that conversation and when the last time I saw him, he looked at me and walked through the door, I was like, oh, okay. I felt at peace because I had finally done the thing of like honoring myself. I'd finally said no more self abandonment, no more trying to take care of and not hurt his feelings, all of the reasons that I stayed. And then I packed up my things and I flew to LA. And, John and I had committed our lives to each other and we had never even kissed. And here I am.
So, like, over text?
Yeah.
I need
I
to
mean,
know,
not,
do you, like, call, like, FaceTime?
I
Like,
mean,
you guys were in.
we were in. We were in, which was like, I didn't even want to tell anyone yet because a lot of people are going to be like, he's a stranger. You've known him for 5 weeks.
Right.
And I was like, I know, but I know, and but it was actually a conversation with my mom where I was like hesitating of, do I go to LA? I was still in Mexico. I had ended things with my ex and I was trying to figure out that next step. And, she said, well, if things don't work out with John, will you go back to your husband? I said, absolutely not. She said, then pack your shit and go.
Oh,
And I was like, yeah, mom. And like, and my mom wasn't necessarily someone I turned to for relationship advice. Like,
right.
she never really had I
Mhm.
never saw healthy love.
Yeah.
But her insight was spot on in that moment because she's like, what's the worst can happen? Like in 2 months, you and John decide,
Yeah.
okay, and great, you're out of this and you get to figure out what's next. So I went and I decided I'm just going to be all in. And, but it was interesting because here I had been in a 9-year sexless relationship. And so I felt deeply disconnected from that part of myself. And now I was stepping into a relationship with a man whom I felt a lot of excitement and desire with, and who was not disconnected from that part of himself. And that's when all these insecurities began to surface. And I was
Mhm.
like, you've got to be kidding me. I just like blew up this good girl harmony myth. I like ended the marriage. I did the big hard thing. And now I'm feeling insecure. This is like on the plane there. I was like, this is very annoying. And, and it had me realize that the reason I had chosen safe relationships, I had lost my dad when I was young. I had a stepfather that was not a shit, let's just say a shitty person. And so I chose safe relationships because I didn't want to feel the abandonment anxieties, the longing, the like, my dad had a traumatic brain injury. I could never reach him. So I was always trying to like reach in relationship.
Mm.
And so I chose safe places where I wouldn't have to feel any of that old stuff. And so now I was with someone who I really didn't want to leave me, so all that abandonment anxiety started coming to the surface that I had processed in therapy intellectually, but never somatically
Mm.
worked through. And so it was like all like this reactivity in my body. I was like, what is going on? So, I fly to LA and we share our first kiss and it's very sweet, but I'm like, I felt like a 15-year-old girl. I was so nervous. And like the first time we made love, I was like, I was like standing there, as he'll recall now. He's like, you were like a deer in headlights and your arms were pinned to your side. And like, thankfully, he was very sweet about it. But I felt like so out of touch with myself.
Mm.
And so that was the part of the journey that I wasn't expecting. And I realized like, it's not about either guy. This is actually about like saving and healing myself. And so these men are just mirrors for parts of myself that I haven't like looked at or gotten to know or befriended. And so it was this like, wild, really like coming home to self process, coming home to my sexuality,
Mm.
getting connected to my body, hearing my desire, which is something I didn't know how to do.
I have to read this because this is the one part of the book where I was like, it's just so good. And it goes right off what you just said. Before we go any further, it would be easy to stop the story here. Woman meets soulmate and replaces husband with said man. Some call her reckless, others call her brave. Either way, she lives happily ever after. But this isn't that kind of story. An unfulfilling marriage and a chance meeting may have been my wake-up call, but another man's love wasn't going to save me. I was about to learn the hard way. This isn't about the story of a woman being saved by Prince Charming. This is the story of a woman learning to save herself.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I think, maybe on the outside it can appear that way. And I think that's where, I'm sure this woke a lot of people up because they're living similar stories, right?
Yeah.
Where they haven't met that person who's kind of made them have this feeling that you felt that people aren't feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to recognize that this man isn't just saving you from feeling disconnected in your previous relationship, it's about helping you reconnect to yourself.
Exactly.
So how do you, after feeling that way and insecure, what helped you tap more into just finding this confidence in yourself?
Yeah, a big part of it for me was to understand the present. I had to look at the past, and I had to look at, okay, what is it that I learned about love, and what I just expressed so effortlessly now of the abandonment anxieties that I was, it was, I didn't know at first what was happening or where it was coming from. And so it was very helpful to realize, this was the relationship with my dad. This, when I met him in a hospital for the first time when I was 8 years old, he had a traumatic brain injury. And I desperately wanted him to see me, to know me, to love me, to be able to connect with me and say, I love you, Amber, which he wasn't capable of. But that was confusing for my, little girl. And so I made up a story that I, carried until my mid-30s, that when I walked in the room, he knew my name and said, I love you. And so it was this excavation of, understanding my past and how I became the way I became, and having compassion for those young parts of me. And so a lot of it was this reparenting work. And I worked with an incredible therapist. I did a lot of EMDR, where I would literally go back to moments and witness my dad, shattering a TV or leaving, which I didn't think I had any memory of. And then I would stay, and she would instruct me, okay, watch your biological dad do what he needs to do. Now bring in your ideal father figure. And how does he? He touches my face. He holds me. He says him leaving has nothing to do with you. It was a lot of this deep reprogramming and reparenting work that was really essential for me in creating the security that I did not have in relationship. Because in career and creativity, it was very easy for me to express my needs, and I was risk-taking and okay with the unknown. But in love, it was terrifying. I was so afraid of, if I'm not thin enough, if I can't satisfy John, if I am not XYZ, then he'll leave. And I really had to realize that I'm okay no matter what, and I'm not going to leave me. It wasn't about him. It was, okay, he was just triggering these younger parts of me that are so afraid. And so I have to go help them feel safe.
I relate so deeply to that. And a lot of your upbringing too. Just not even understanding repair, because it was nothing that I learned as a kid. And I think when you don't learn that at a young age, it lives deep in your body, just being afraid of everything, walking on eggshells, or are they going to talk to me this month? It's so deeply rooted.
Yeah. Are they going to drink too much? If they drink too much, and they get in a fight, is it going to get really violent? It was, for me, conflict was very scary and dangerous. And so I also, when John and I went to have our first fight, I was like, oh my God, everything's going to blow up.
Right.
Because I, like you, did never learn the art of repair.
Yeah. What does that look like now?
The repair process? Yeah, I had to, I think the big realization was that John and I, even if we get in a fight, that doesn't affect the foundation of our relationship. We can actually have a rupture and we can work through it and it means nothing about our relationship. And the therapist that I work with, she said to me, because I went to her, I was like, oh my God, we got in a fight about soap. Like, I think it's over. Is our relationship really over because of a bar of soap? And she's like, well, first off, it's not about the soap. And second of all, she's like, this is what happens when couples shack up, and conflict isn't what breaks up relationships. It's a lack of repair. And so I had to learn, conflict is actually normal and healthy. She's like, this is how you guys are learning to take care of each other. You're understanding his needs and values and what's important to him. Mm-hmm. Great. Like, yes, it's like colorful and lively because that's what you both learned. But now, like, it doesn't mean that you're not okay if you have conflict. Actually, like, the more that you can repair and learn, okay, this is what was happening for you and this is what was happening for you, like, you get data points that show you I'm safe here.
Right.
And so I think, it was because he was very comfortable. He's like a New Yorker, very comfortable with conflict. And
very, unfortunately,
like can like debate someone, and like him and his sister will have like a full debate about the Dalai Lama, or like, and I'm like, whoa. And to me, I'm like, I'm feeling dysregulated.
Right.
But it's like, oh, wait, no, they love each other. They're okay. It's okay to voice opinions and have disagreements. And like, that's not going to blow everything up.
Right.
So it was learning to, within my own system, again, stay centered, stay regulated. And then you have a child and you throw a child in the mix. And it's like, okay, how do I stay regulated when they're screaming? It was learning that.
How do you?
I mean, it's breathing, the breath, like, wow. And, staying with myself and staying with the activation and like allowing, like, okay, noticing silently within myself, okay, my heartbeat is rising and I'm feeling unsettled and I want to make sure he's okay. And this is making, I like kind of self-narrate and breathe. And then, I'll talk about it with John later.
Right.
But it's, because it's so important to me that to break these kind of generational chains and to not only show him what love can look like and secure love can look like, but I want to teach him healthy conflict and I want to teach him all the things I didn't learn, of course. And I get to be the model of that.
Yes.
So it's like, it's in the arena every day.
Every single day. Being a cycle breaker takes so much like devotion to the things that help you see things differently, show up differently, respond and not react to things. It's, from one cycle breaker to another, it's real work.
Yeah.
But clearly you're chosen and destined to be here because you're helping so many people wake up to themselves. And, I think even just like relationships aside, it's waking people up to the fact that, we can acknowledge like maybe someone's dissatisfied and we can take this like self-ownership and really go under the hood of our lives, which is so uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable. And the steps to get there. And I know you do a lot of speaking. And do you coach women as well?
I don't.
You don't?
No.
I don't know why. I'm getting strong.
There's a lot of requests
think you need
for
to
it
coach.
Now, and I'm like,
I'm sensing women's groups. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see.
But like when someone isn't there.
Yeah.
Because I think that is what I always love to shed light on is like the how to get there and being in that disconnected place too. And I know journaling is huge for you, but if you can just give us a little insight to like your practice, like what does that look like?
Well, I think it really starts with self-honesty. And I think because a lot of people are in denial or afraid to admit what's true. And freedom requires restraint. So people are like, I want to be free. I want to be aligned in my life. And alignment also requires you to understand where you're misaligned. And so I always say like, okay, well, where is the restraint? Like, where is the disconnection? Where is the unfulfillment? Start there, kind of shine a light on that and look honestly at where you do feel disconnected. And and really, this is where a journal can be profoundly helpful. Maybe the question is, where am I disappointing myself so I don't have to disappoint another? Or maybe the question is, what truth am I afraid to admit to myself and why? And really like shine that light under the hood. Because before we can go and tell the people in our lives, or before we can make a change externally, we really have to understand what is alive and happening internally. So
Mhm.
that's the starting place. And then I think once you've gotten to that place of like, okay, here I'm being honest with myself, then I think what's the safe space for you to have a larger conversation? Because with that is often a lot of shame.
Right.
And as Brene Brown says, shame, can't live. This is not how she says it. I'm butchering a little bit, but basically, like when you share your shame with another, the shame dissolves. And so for me, I had a really close girlfriend in the midst of this that I called and I was like, here's everything that's happening. Oh my God, I'm a terrible person. I feel so ashamed. Da, 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 da. And she was able to be like, I'm, proud of you for looking honestly. And wow, John's presence is such a gift because it seems like he's waking you up to all these places in your life you weren't being honest. And so who is that safe space? It could be a therapist. It could be a close friend, someone to really explore what's alive in you and look at it more honestly. I think before we go and like shake everything up, let's say
Right.
if we're like unfulfilled in our marriage. And it's funny, I was listening to a friend of mine, her name is By a Voice. She did a video yesterday and she's like, I have an unconventional opinion, which is like, if you cheated, you might not need to tell your partner immediately. Like, and she's a
Mhm.
therapist and all this. She's like, I'm not saying I'm pro betrayal, but
Right.
like understand what's there for you before
Mhm.
you just go and tell them so that you feel better about yourself.
Right.
And so I think that process again, because it's all about the process of the self, understanding where you're at is really vital before you go and like
Mhm.
dump it on, your partner.
Right.
And so that you know that you're expressing from like this is what's true to me place. I always think that's where to
Mhm.
begin.
Do you meditate?
I don't
You
meditate.
don't?
Journaling is kind of
Is your
meditation for me.
meditation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're breathing, like
Yeah.
you're mindful and present with your breath,
Yeah.
which you're meditating without even realizing that you're meditating. You're probably meditating when you're breastfeeding and
That's
doing all the
true. That's
things.
true.
Yeah.
But maybe my meditation doesn't look typical. Whereas my John, my husband he meditates every day. Like
Mhm.
he and he's tried to get me to meditate.
Right.
And so
I
I'm
don't
trying to get him to journal.
right. Aren't we always trying to get our partners to do the things?
Yeah.
No, but I feel like that meditative energy like feels very strong
Mm,
in you. So
mm.
maybe it's him rubbing off on
Could
you.
be.
I have to say, there was a video that he had posted. I think you
Mm.
guys, it's I sent it to Dylan immediately. You guys are so cute, first of all. Like, it's like, I feel the chemistry and the aliveness. It's very real. But where he was sharing that you had just finished your book
Yeah.
and him just talking through like what he had just experienced through. I mean, you guys moved 3 different homes
We
from
moved, when I was pregnant 3 times because of mold.
oh my
And
god.
then the fires happened. And then we lived in 17 places over the course of 4 months, like Airbnbs, hotels, because he had to be near his he's an artist, near his work in Malibu. And it was crazy. And alongside like all of this, I had to finish my book and market the book and hire the PR. I had to do all the things. And so it was his Mother's Day gift to me, which he is not a front of camera person.
He said
He's,
that. He was like, "This is
so I was
love."
shocked. I was like, wow, okay. So it was it was like one of the most meaningful gifts, like for someone like him, especially to have given me.
That was so precious.
Thank you.
It
I'll let
really
him know. He'll
no,
be
it
thrilled.
was so beautiful and just so pure.
Mm,
And just hearing about like what you were up against
mm.
with getting birthing the book and you had just birthed the baby and moving. I feel like people like don't realize what goes into a book and
Yeah,
you rewrote it a few
I
times.
rewrote it. Yeah.
W- Why? And
There's the book you write and there's the book you publish. And the book I first wrote was like, I needed to air everything out. It was the book I wrote to understand my history. It was, I was angry and, I had to like get it all on the page. And then there was the process of like, okay, let me put my editor hat on. Who is this for? What's the actual story I'm trying to tell? And how do I tell the story in a way that people are going to want to read it?
right.
Like there's a process where you have to, for your own healing and catharsis, write like no one will ever read it. But then you have to go through the process of like, okay, how do I write this like I want someone to read it? And how do I make it a story that's worth telling? And so there was like those two stages. And then I think, because while I was pregnant, a lot of the like mother wounding stuff came to the surface that I hadn't looked at. And that became a whole part of the book that I wasn't expecting. A lot of the relationship with my mom and, because I was like, my mom is my best friend. And like, I am very close to my mom, but I wasn't honest about things that had happened in our past that had really impacted me.
Mm.
And so the book goes into that. And I think, becoming a mother myself, the epilogue of the book is actually the birth. So it was like I hadn't lived a few pieces of the story. So while I was finishing the edits, I actually was like writing into the final scenes. So it was interesting because, I, in a lot of ways, was writing the story as I was living it, which I think is why it's so raw.
Yeah, which is why it's so good. And you feel like you're literally there through like every step of it. What are you shared in a post, I believe it was 4 steps to take when writing a book. Okay, I had you grab your phone because I loved your brave writing principles. Can you share them for everyone?
Yeah. So the first one is to write like no one will read it. And this is, you can't have your parent, your sibling, your partner, someone over your shoulder while you're writing saying, are you sure you're going to say that? Or that might hurt my feelings if you go there. Like we need to, in our early drafts, write like no one will read it because that's how we get to the truth of our story and that's how we get to witness ourselves. And the second one is to forget your reader at first, because if we're over considering our reader, we're, wanting to help them. We're wanting to help them understand. We're wanting to create something that will, be enjoyable for them. But I think really the goal of writing is to write to first understand yourself, because I think that material there is actually what's most alive and relatable. And so, start there, forget your reader at first, figure out what your story really is. And then, you can consider your reader later and consider what is the story you're really trying to tell. The third principle is that your mess is the material. I encourage people to write from where they are. People will come to me and be like, I don't know what to write about. And, but I'm feeling a lot of like perfectionism and self-doubt about my writing practice. And so it's making me feel blocked in my writing. I'm like, okay, write about your self-doubt and your perfectionism and feeling blocked in your writing. Because you know how many people are feeling perfectionism and self-doubt and blocked in their writing. And then they create something that is not only helpful to them, but helpful to others.
That's so good.
And then the fourth one is bad draft first, brave draft second. So often what holds people back from writing a first draft is they think it needs to be really good. And so I always encourage in writing workshops, I'll set a timer for 5 minutes and I say, write literally the worst draft of this story that you could possibly write. And then they get it going. They realize, oh, I actually like something here. It gets the editor out of the way. And then the brave draft is to go through and ask yourself, where can I be more honest? Where am I hiding? Where am I not sharing the full truth? And to bring that level of authenticity and honesty to the page.
Those are so good.
That's what last one. There's a fifth one.
Give it to us.
If you're bored, the reader is bored. And so I encourage people to follow those threads that really enliven you and excite you, because that's what's going to stand out on the page and resonate with others too.
That is, I think, the most important thing, because as someone who has picked up more books than I can count, but I've only read a few books that I can't count. I'm being really honest.
Yeah.
It was just with my attention span and it just not being interesting, like you lose me.
Yeah.
And to be able to, and I think that's like the word about you and your book it's riveting because it's so real. And it's just like pouring out of you. You feel it. You feel the depths of your soul, of your story, of your pain, of the struggle, of the beauty of meeting this person who, woke you up. It is so powerful. That's what I'm getting for you, by the way. Writing workshops.
I do writing workshops.
You do?
do that, yes.
Okay. Because I was like, I need more of that.
I love writing workshops. Yeah. I haven't done one in a bit, but I do love
I think
it
needs to be a regular thing.
Okay.
Amber, I don't know what it is, but I'm tracking like women need more connection with you.
Thank you.
I'm being so honest.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I think even because it's like the writing workshop, maybe for even non-writers. I don't know. We're now brainstorming, but
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like you're giving me so much as someone who's always felt a book inside of me,
Mm,
but it's so scary
yeah. Ooh, let's talk
to,
about it.
yes, it's scary to expose yourself
Yeah.
and to reveal
Yeah.
things that do bring up a lot of shame
Mm,
and a lot of guilt. And I think that it's a lot of wanting to save face for other people
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So being able to like feel all of those feelings, but then also be so truthful in the writing process it's really difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How the hell do you get over that?
I mean, I think because, my mom had a lot of feelings about the book. And she took like a week because she didn't read the book until a week before it came out. And, there's very honest stories in there. And even though I
Yeah.
sat her down and told her, here's what's going to be in the book, she hadn't actually read it on the page. And it was hard for her.
Yeah.
I talk about her relationship with alcohol. I talk about how she was the cool mom, but not the safe mom. And it was her experience was we were so close, and we are close. She had me when she was 21. She was a young mom in a lot of ways. I mothered her. And, that relationship as a result of that was also challenging for me. And so I was just really put that truth on the page. And, she had to process. And I said to her, I was like, you may have feelings about this. My ask is that you process it with someone that's not me.
Oh,
Because I can't be that emotional space for you. And she was like, of course, tell your story. I wasn't like, and I think the way I represent her is incredibly well-rounded. So many people are like, I'm obsessed with your mom from the book, which like, that's helping. She's like,
right.
oh, I'm inspiring people. She's like standing taller. I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, who's going to play me in the movie?
No, for real though.
And so it's in some ways, I think it's made our relationship more honest. Because as much as I've tried to tell her all of these things in different ways, just her and I, either her defenses would rise or she couldn't really take it in.
Yeah.
And like, now here it is.
Right.
In a book. And it was a risk that I took but I also felt like I, represented my mom appropriately, and the way that it ended was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And in a really healing place. But yeah, it's, Anne Lamott says, if people close to you didn't want you to write about them, then they should have behaved better.
Ooh.
And it makes me laugh.
No, but
Yeah.
what she said.
Yeah. Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
And it does give you, even me, just in the process of thinking about it, just more permission.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can always edit it later. So I'm always like, just write it down.
Right.
Without thinking about how they're going to feel about it. Because you can always be like, okay, that's not necessary to the story, but I needed to write that for me. Or maybe it is necessary to the story.
Do you have siblings?
No.
So
No.
it's just you and your mom.
Do you?
Yes. I have 4 sisters and a brother.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of siblings, which is also interesting because we all have very different experiences. Like being under the same roof as some of them, but just experiencing things wildly different is interesting as you get older, to be like, well, I don't remember it like that, or like that thing didn't bother me, but like this thing bothered me, and just seeing how different. And like as an only child, it's like you have you to process it with.
Yeah. Yeah. Which has challenges, and also, I bet it could be challenging to see how all of your siblings had such different perspectives.
Very.
But also interesting, like, oh, okay, that's how you related to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like very different perspectives. What does it mean to you to live an authentic life?
I think living an authentic life, I know I keep saying this, is like living an honest life. And authenticity is about moving from a place that feels true, even if other people are going to have feelings about it. And I think as, my kind of like good girl myth for so long was harmony. I didn't want to upset anyone and I didn't want to be too much or ruffle the feathers. And so I would disappoint myself so that other people weren't in disappointment. And so authenticity for me lately has been, I'm going to do what's right and true for me, even if it might disappoint people, even if they may disapprove of my choices, because that is me, the self-honoring thing. So even like how I wrote this book was me living in authenticity and me practicing that, like, sometimes disappointing other people is required. Sometimes it's actually a skill. We don't have to be savages, but living our truth doesn't need to make everyone comfortable.
It's exactly that. It's like developing that skill.
Yeah.
To be able to just make someone feel uncomfortable with whatever it is, like, not going to the thing or not responding to the text, like however you deal with it. But sometimes I think not dealing with it is the way to deal with it. At least like this is the chapter I'm in my life of just, I was telling you about this pinch in my neck that has been going on for, I move for a living. So things happen, but this is like beyond anything. And I'm like, this is something deeper. This is something deeper. And the crazy thing is, all of these things keep coming up in my life that are a pain in the neck. And I've chosen not to respond because I'm like, the energy that it takes me to muster up a neutral response is so fucking draining that I'm choosing to give you the response of nothing. Because that's what I've got for you right now at this point in my life. Totally. I'm just like, how many times? And it's weird because it's hit me from every angle. And I feel like I'm being so tested. Like I was saying, I'm like, I know this is something deeper. And I just keep going back to, if it's a pain in my neck right now, no. Because I need to eliminate those things that are draining me and my ability to show up fully for everything I want to show in my life. Like we spend so much of our time trying to think of these neutral responses for people and saying no. Like it is so much.
So exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. So exhausting. Yeah. Well, I love that your body is like, hey, I'm going to communicate with you in the way that I'm going to force you to listen.
I feel like I'm literally being like beat down where I like have this program going on and I like to do the program along with members. And I didn't do day 3 yesterday. I'm like, it kills me. But I'm like, no, it's okay. Like I am being forced to rest in a way that apparently my body needs. And that also comes with just avoiding chaos and things that are toxic in my life that I am so used to pleasing my way through.
Yeah.
Like,
please perform, smile.
Yes. Like as women, like I weighs heavily on us. Like you say, like the good girl, like one woman's path from good to free. Like it is so freeing to just be honest.
Yeah.
And everyone has to read this book.
Thank you.
I just like cannot wait to keep following your journey, to see what else you write, to join one of your workshops. And you're just such a gift. I adore you. I'm so happy that we were able to do this.
Me too.
I stalked Dylan about you this summer. I was all over it. I'm like, no, Amber, that's all I want.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I meant to tell you, I did your videos while I was pregnant.
You did?
Yes, I did the workout classes. Yeah. So I've been in your world for a little while.
I had no idea.
I found it when I was pregnant. I was like, oh, these are great. I can do these at home. And I can like choose what I need. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. We have to like help you throughout, the whole journey after too. Like we've got everything for you.
Yeah. I need to start.
Postpartum.
I haven't gotten into the postpartum.
Do you mind like beginner section? Because I always recommend just starting there. That's like the bones of the foundation of just giving your body low impact movements to help just build your core and strengthen yourself from the inside out. So so happy to hear that. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was
for being
fun.
here. So fun.
So fun.
And everyone, Lovable, where can everyone find you?
Lovable is available everywhere books are sold. I'm Hey Amber Rae on Instagram, and my website is amberrae.com, which has links to all the things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are going to save a lot of people.
Thank you.